This NFL Week 6 pregame show edition of the NFL Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Underdog has just picked Pick'em Scorchers where you can win 100x. That's right, turn $5 into $500 in one game. Plus, every Sunday, they're giving away $100,000. Use promo code SGPN at Underdog Fantasy for a 100% deposit bonus of up to $500. We're also brought to you by Game Time. Last-minute tickets, download the Game Time app, create an account, and use promo code CFBX for $20 off your first purchase. And we're also brought to you by Hall of Fame Bets, the sports betting research platform for parlays, player props, and game lines. Download the Hall of Fame Bets app or visit HOFBets.com. Use promo code SGPN to get 50% off your first month and start making smarter bets today. And we're giving away $3,000 in our NFL Second Chance Survivor contest presented by Corey Pinkston and Barking Dog Properties. Free to enter. Just go to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/survivor. Welcome, everyone, to the NFL Week 6 pregame show, part of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. It is currently 10:02 on the East Coast. You guys know how we do it here on these pregame shows. We're going to go through every single game, get you guys caught up on our injury news, I should say, the latest injury news. We got some interesting news and notes out as of this morning. We're a little under, or right around 3 hours away from the first game kicking off for the afternoon slate. But hey, we're in the midst of a NFL Week 6 London game where our guy close to London is our guy Mal. I'm not sure if any of you guys caught the morning show with Boz and Mal there for the London game. Hopefully they gave out some winners. I'm pretty sure they gave out some winners. But hey, we're going to get you through and caught up with everything that's happening around the NFL for the Sunday schedule. And joining me here to help me break it down, as usual, I got my guy Lante Smith here with me. Lante, what's going on, brother?
Not much, man. Looking forward to breaking down the games with you. Another decent slate. We've been doing all right with these props and trying to get on the right side this week.
Yeah. Hopefully we can carry it. I know we've been giving out props for almost every single game, on these pregame shows. So we'll just go game by game as usual. Yep. We'll talk about the latest injury news, and then we'll give out our player props as well for each of the games. But yeah, like I mentioned right now, the Titans and the Ravens are in the midst of playing a football game, currently tied 3-3 with about the first quarter winding down here with about $1:30 left. The Ravens driving deep into Titans territory. So I'm sure people are watching that game. Lante, let's get it going here with the first game on the afternoon schedule here. Give me 1 second. Let me tweet this or let me get this stream out to everybody so they can join us. Give me 1 second here. All right, let's see. All right. Hopefully we get some more people join us. And I know we have a lot of people that usually tap in with us. But all right, let's see here. First game we'll get into for the NFL Week 7 schedule. Let's go over to the Commanders and the Falcons game. Let me see if there's any significant injury news here. I don't think anything significant
I didn't see anything.
For either of these teams. But I'll kick it off here, man. I've talked a lot about this on the Propcast when we talk about player props and the Washington Commanders secondary here, Lante, has not been very good to say the least. Let's start with that. And I kind of went back for the first 5 weeks. And this was something I cashed on the Thursday Night Football game on Justin Fields' longest completion to go over at the time was like 34.5, I believe. But I'm going right back to that prop with Desmond Ridder. So just to put into context, since week one, they've given up long completions of 60, 50, 35, 59, 37, and 58 yards. So I'm looking at Desmond Ridder to go over 34.5 yards on his longest completion. We saw over the last couple of weeks, maybe he's getting a little more comfortable in the Arthur Smith offensive system, because it seems like they're passing the ball a lot more with him. Because last week, 28 of 37, 329 yards, 19 of 31, 191 against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Against the Lions, 21 of 38, 201 yards. So the passing yards are starting to creep up. And over the last 2 weeks, he's had long completions of 32 and 33. So I'm just asking him to go a yard or two longer here against this Commanders defense that has given it up all season long, pretty much here, Lante.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. We trashed Desmond Ridder last week, and he went out and had one of the best games of his career. So I'm kind of staying away from the Atlanta props, simply because I want to see if he can be consistent as far as, getting the ball outside the numbers. Kyle Pitts has been somewhat of a, I guess, reborn a little bit. He's getting targeted a lot, him and Jonnu Smith. So he's kind of working the tight ends. But if I had to look at anybody on the Atlanta side, it'd probably be Drake London.
Yeah.
Just a big physical receiver on the outside. I think he'll be able to disrupt some of that secondary. I know Washington in the Thursday night game against Chicago, they took the rookie off the field. So they're kind of dealing with some rotational pieces. Emmanuel Forbes from Mississippi State, he was getting lit up by DJ Moore.
Mm-hmm.
And pretty much everybody was getting lit up by DJ Moore. So it kind of wasn't his fault. But I'm going to stay on the Washington side. I'm going to go with Logan Thomas over 35.5 receiving yards. He's over in 3 of his last 4 games. He got targeted actually 9 times last game. I think this will be a sneaky shootout game. So I think Sam Howell will be stepping back to pass a lot more. The Atlanta has struggled with tight ends. Schultz has 7 for 65 versus Atlanta. Ingram has 7 for 59. Laporta had 8 for 84. So it's been a good day for tight ends when they're playing this Atlanta defense. And I think that coincides with the other pick that I got, Brian Robinson, under 60.5 rushing yards. His carries have been decreasing, in each game pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
He's under this number in 2 straight games, a combined 20 carries for 55 yards in his last 2 games combined. So I think it'll be a shootout. I think Atlanta's rush defense is a little bit better than their pass defense. I also think that not Ron Rivera, but I also think that the OC, what's my man? Eric Bieniemy. I think he'll lean more on a short pass game, which is basically an extension of the run game to get Sam Howell going and to try to expose that secondary a little bit. So Brian Robinson under 16.5 rushing yards, Logan Thomas over 35.5 receiving yards.
Yeah, I love it. For this game, I think that this could be a sneaky shootout, especially with that Commanders defense, who has just been mildly struggling, especially in that secondary, like we mentioned.
Yep.
All right, next game let's get to here. Let's go over to Cincinnati. We got the Seahawks coming into Cincinnati. Huge game for both teams, especially for the Cincinnati Bengals here, especially with who they have on deck. They have 49ers and the Bills in their next 2 weeks, so huge game. Maybe Joe Burrow found something, or maybe it was just a product of him going up against a bad pass defense last week against Arizona, but I like Kenneth Walker in this game. I talked about it last week with James Conner before he did suffer the injury. Conner last week had 6 rushes, 45 rushing yards before he did get injured. His number last week was 60.5, 61.5. I think it closed around 62.5. But I think this is a game where I think Kenneth Walker can definitely have success on the ground against the Cincinnati Bengals rush defense. And when we talk about what rush defenses, Cincinnati allowing the second most rushing yards per game, 154 yards per game. They're also allowing, 5.3 yards per carry, which is 3rd worst in the entire NFL. Last week, they gave up 5.7 to the Arizona Cardinals. And now you have Kenneth Walker coming into town, looking to run all over this rush defense. His number around, I got at 66.5. The current number right now is going to be 67.5. So a little bit of movement there, but I still like it for Kenneth Walker here, over 67.5 on his rushing yards here, Lante.
Yeah, complete agreement with you. That's the only prop that I have pretty much in this game. His carries have been there. 17 plus in his last 3 games, so he's getting the ball. He's going to be well rested coming off that bye. He's over this number in back-to-back games and finished with 64 in another. And you mentioned Cincinnati's rush defense. They also are extremely viable to give up like the long runs. And we all know Kenneth Walker is an explosive runner. Cincinnati, they give up 230-plus runs to Arizona. They also have given up a 20-plus yard run in every single game. So he's looking – I think Kenneth Walker is going to come out explosive. They're going to feed him the ball. Obviously, we know what Pete Carroll wants to do with the offense, kind of a ground and pound approach. And also, I'm not sure if I know Geno got banged up in the game, had to leave, and Drew Lock had to come in. So maybe they lean more on the run game. They do have an advantage here against the Cincinnati defense. Kenneth Walker also, I know he's probably right around even money to score a touchdown, but he's had 5 in the last 3 games. If you want to get him like 2+ touchdowns, he scored 2 in 2 of the last 3 games. So I think him getting in the end zone and going over this number is a good bet.
Love it. Let's go over to the next game here, the battle of 2 NFC North teams. The Minnesota Vikings sitting at 1-4, along with the Chicago Bears sitting at 1-4. They were battled out in the Windy City today. Obviously, Justin Jefferson was put on the IR with the hamstring injury. He's going to miss at least 4 games for the Vikings. I think the interesting conversation that now becomes is for the Vikings is, who picks up that production that Justin Jefferson leaves a huge void in, right? Because you and I have talked to him multiple times about just the impact that Justin Jefferson has for that offense for the Minnesota Vikings. Thus far this season, he's had let's see. I mean, going back to the first 3 weeks where he was just absolutely like racking up the yards. He had at least 12 targets in the first 3 weeks. He had at least 7 receptions in those first 3 weeks, and then he had at least 149. This is rounded up to 150 yards in those first 3 weeks. Obviously, last week he suffers the hamstring injury, doesn't finish the game. He did leave the game with 3 receptions on 6 targets for 28 yards. But who are you looking at here, Lonzy? Because I want to get your perspective on who you think fills that void. Do you think it's going to be by committee for that wide receiving group?
Yeah, it's definitely going to have to be by committee, but I do trust O'Connell's kind of scheme to get guys open. I mean, he was one of the best at getting guys open. We saw the difference from the year before whenever Justin Jefferson was there. Obviously, he was amazing still then, but he was a little bit more explosive whenever O'Connell came in, getting a little bit more I got a lot more easier routes and getting open faster. But I think it'll be by committee. I think you're going to have Addison and to step up. He played really well after Jefferson went down. I think he had a touchdown and close to 100 yards last week. And I think it's probably going to have to be helped by the running backs as well. And with Hockenson, because Madison is really good out of the backfield. I'm not sure if they're going to get Cam Akers going or not, but he's been decent out of the backfield. I mean, his career catching the ball as well. So I think it's going to have to be by committee, to be honest with you. Kirk Cousins has been on fire, man. That's where I'm leaning at. I'm going to right here, over 257 passing yards. He soared over this number in all games but one, 325 plus in 3 of his last 5. The Bears have allowed 3 of 5 quarterbacks to go over this number. That includes Baker Mayfield, who, he's not going to kill you with his arm. Let's just say that. Cousins also has 2+ CDs in every game. So if you want to look for a little parlay with Cousins and his yards and touchdowns, I think that's good here. The running game has been non-existent. Madison hasn't been able to get it going. I think we've been on his unders for like 2 weeks straight. Yeah. I probably lean that way as well. I think this definitely will be a shootout with both of these defenses here. On the other side, I do like Fields over 254 pass yards plus rush yards. He's over in 3 of 5 games, back-to-back 280+ yard passing games. They open up the run game more with him. I know people were getting on the coaching staff for, kind of limited what he's doing. They also kind of shrunk the playbook, made it a little bit more simple. So he's not going through like 2 and 3 reads. He's just not there yet as far as, progressing. So it's kind of 1 read, 2 read, and then take off or throw it to either one of the reads. In 2 of the last 3 games, he's had over 10+ rush attempts. So I think he'll be there with the rush yards and the pass yards. So I like both quarterbacks in this matchup today.
Well, I'm sorry, what was the number on Kirk Cousins?
Cousins, I see 257.5.
257.5. All right, I like that as well. I think the autoplay also has got to be DJ Moore receiving yards. I know. Yeah. I mean, when we talk about this wide receiving group, it's pretty much DJ Moore and it's Cole Kmet, and I don't think that Justin Fields is really looking for anybody else on the team. And this, I think this might be another game that might be a sneaky shootout. But again, I should be mentioning the weather in some of these games for because I know there's some rain coming out on that East Coast there. But right now, I do see DJ Moore receiving yards at 60.5 for this game. So definitely I'll be looking at that. I'm going to dig a little bit more into that as we kind of get closer to game time. Excuse me. Looking at some of the weather here, the games that we already talked about, obviously the Falcons are in a dome, so nothing about there. There is a slight chance of rain showers for this game between the Vikings and the Bears at 27%, and then very slight chance in the Seahawks and Cincinnati Bengals game, 2%. So definitely make sure to check those weather reports, and I'll mention it as we kind of go game by game here for the schedule on Sunday. Lante, let's get over to the next game on the board here. We'll go over to probably the most intriguing matchup, I guess, from a line perspective, or maybe the books are going to need in a huge way. That's going to be the San Francisco 49ers. They are in Cleveland to take on the Browns. Obviously, for the Cleveland Browns, no Deshaun Watson. And this shoulder issue is seeming like it's a little bit more serious than maybe people are thinking it out to be. The latest thing I saw was that it's one of the four core muscles that is attached to the shoulder. I mean, I'm not the SGPN doc, but he absolutely crushes it. Sebastian does with all the injuries. So if you haven't already, check out his injury report, check out his videos, follow him on X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it. He absolutely just crushes it, breaking all these injuries down in the timelines and the significance of these injuries. So Deshaun Watson obviously out for this game. Niners are pretty clean, man. They're pretty healthy right now. David Njoku was the one that was on the injury report for the Cleveland Browns, but he is going to be playing today here as well as Myles Garrett. He's in as well for this team. I didn't have much on this game as far as player props here, Lante, but anything that you do like?
No, I mean, I don't like anything. It's kind of hard. It's kind of hard to. San Francisco is like Kansas City. I mean, it's hard to play props on them because they spread the ball out so much, and you never know what they're going to do offensively. I mean, the cash cow is pretty much Christian McCaffrey touchdown. Maybe if you want, he didn't have an explosive game as far as yardage. Probably because they were in control of the game for the most part last week. Didn't have to use him as much, but maybe this week they use him out of the backfield a little bit more with that pass rush for Cleveland. So him is the only like Christian McCaffrey receiving yards, receptions are probably the only look I can make. It's kind of up in the air with Cleveland. I mean, I want to be the more optimistic. I really think that they're not live to win the game, but I think they could be more competitive than the point spread indicates. Simply just off of the defense alone. I think this would probably be the best defense San Francisco's faced, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh yeah, I think
so. On the road, I'm not sure. Is any weather for this game?
Yeah, so there is weather for this game. There we have likely showers of about 64%. I think Rolante is going to be something similar to what we saw in week 1 between the Bengals and the Bears with rain, and then also some wind gusts around, not hugely significant, but about 15 miles per hour.
Yeah, and see, usually in any other team that would kind of favor Cleveland, but not with San Francisco because they can run the ball and they want to run the ball and lean on that offensive line a little bit more. So, I don't have much on this game. If I did, I'd probably just lean to some McCaffrey stuff on the Brown side. I mean, maybe Njoku. Did you see his face? Like what happened to him?
Yeah, I did.
Oh man, that's crazy. I don't know how he played through that, but yeah, I think some short dump offs, maybe some forward props to like receptions, yardage, because I think Walker will be able to like dump the ball down. He's not been explosive, but at Carolina, he's not been. He wasn't explosive at all. So maybe look at his unders on his passing yards as well.
Yeah, I like it. All right, let's get over to the next game on the schedule here. Let's go over down to South Beach. The Carolina Panthers, they are down in Miami to take on the Dolphins here. Injury news, nothing of significance to me. The weather is pretty clean. It's going to be 86 degrees, partly cloudy, slight winds, but nothing that has to do with rain or anything like that here. I'll kick it off here. I do like Bryce Young, whether you like his completions or his pass attempts in this game. If we're talking purely about game script in this game, you kind of have to look at that. You're going to probably be expecting the Panthers to be playing from behind, just because we know how explosive the Miami Dolphins offense is. Like blinking of eye, 2-3 plays, they're already in the red zone of the opposing team. So Bryce Young over 22.5 completions is what I see right now. Pass attempts for him is currently at 35.5. And you kind of take a look at what's transpired for Bryce Young over the last 2 weeks. He's had, well, I'll say this, over the course of the season, he's had at least 20 completions, but back-to-back weeks, he's had 25 completions. And they've been obviously playing from behind in most of those games. Pass attempts, he had 41 last week against the Lions. And he's only gone over the pass attempts twice this season, the 4 games that he has played, 41 and 38, which was last week against the Lions and then week 1, I believe, against the Atlanta Falcons. But also you take a look at the quarterbacks that have played the Dolphins this season, again, just because I'm talking about the game script here, that they are going to be trailing, especially with one of the highest spreads on the board, if not the highest, along there with the Bills hosting the Giants. You take a look at the completions for the 5 quarterbacks that have played the Dolphins: 23, 21, 23, 31, and 23. So that 22.5 right now seems a little bit key for the 5 quarterbacks have gone over this projection of 22.5 pass completion. So that's where I'm at with Bryce Young. Also, I mean, automatically, I'm betting Adam Thielen. I know a lot of people are on Mingo this week, but Adam Thielen has led this team in targets over the last 4 weeks at a combine of 36 targets. 44 targets and 36 receptions off of those 44 targets. He's gone over 59.5 receiving yards, which is the current number right now, in 3 straight weeks, including 2 of the last 3 weeks. He's had 100 plus. So I laddered this up to around 70. It was at plus 140. I'll check the updated number and if you have any thoughts on this game here, Lante.
Yeah, so I'm with you on Bryce Young, except for I'm going with under his passing yards, 223.5. He's under in 3 of the 4 games. He's actually under 200 yards in 2 games, and this is with 144 total attempts. So, like you mentioned, he's getting the ball through the air, or throwing the ball a lot through the air. So he's just more dinking and dunking, like short stuff, intermediate routes, not really stretching the field. He doesn't really have a receiver that can stretch the field at all. I do think Miami is. I think they can be gotten in the run game. I think the secondary is a little bit better than what people indicate. And I mean, it's not going to be a hostile environment, of course, in Miami. They probably got one of the least home field advantages in the NFL. But I do think that Bryce Young goes under here. I think they lean more on the run game. I know Miles Sanders is out, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah. I'm looking at Bryce Young to go under his passing yards, but over his rushing yards, thinking that he uses his legs a lot. He's been more effective with his legs. Last game, he was trying to get out, but he kind of got shoestring tackled. So I'm liking his rushing yards to go over, but his passing yards to go under. I was looking for a tackles and assist prop for Camus Hill, but I didn't see it up there. He's the linebacker for the Panthers. But if you want to look at Frankie Louvu, he's a complete animal at the linebacker position. I think Miami will be able to lean on the run game, which is basically paradise for linebacker tackles. So if you look for Frankie Louvu tackles and assists, it should be around 7.5. I go over that number.
Tackles and assists for Frankie Louvu, I see 6.5 minus 140 over on DraftKings. Brian Burns is questionable. I haven't seen him officially being ruled in. They activated. Let me see here. Yeah, it listed as questionable. He is expected to play here for the Panthers defense, and like you mentioned, that Miles Sanders is going to be out for this game for the backfield of the Carolina Panthers. Anything else for this game here, Lante?
No, that's it.
All right, next game. Let's get over to the battle of the AFC South teams, the Indianapolis Colts. They are going to also be in Florida. They're going to be in Jacksonville to take on the Jaguars. Looking at some of the injury news for the Indianapolis Colts, obviously the big news coming out is they're actually thinking about strongly considering sitting Anthony Richards for the rest of the season, undergoing season-ending surgery to his shoulder to address the grade 3 right AC joint sprain that he does have. So that's be something for us to watch. Brian Kelly was officially listed as questionable for the Indianapolis Colts, their starting center. Brandon Smith, offensive tackle, is also out, and that is pretty much it as far as significant injuries For the Jacksonville Jaguars side, as far as injuries, pretty clean injury report. Devin Lloyd listed as questionable ahead of the Sunday game. Zay Jones is going to be out for the wide receiving group of the Jacksonville Jaguars here. It's Minshew Mania. He's headed down to Jacksonville looking for some redemption here, Lonte. Any player props you like in this game?
Yeah, I like two, both on the Jacksonville side. Like Trevor Lawrence over 17.5 rushing yards. He's over this in 3 of the last 4 games. He actually went over in week 1 against Indy. He had 7 for 21. Has been using his legs more on design runs. 15 rush attempts in his last 2 games. I just think that he'll have success here with his legs, extending plays. I mean, he's one of the better quarterbacks at extending plays, and then just kind of gaining 4 or 5 yards here, 2 or 3 yards there. I think that'll add up and get us over this number. So I'm going over 17.5 for the rush yards, and I'm going with Aluakon, another tackles and assist prop, over 9.5. He's over in 3 of the last 5 games. Indianapolis is probably going to use that 2-back system and rely more on the run here, especially with Minshew being kind of, they probably want to calm him down a little bit because he wants to go out and kind of stick it to his former team. So I think they rely on Moss and Taylor. Taylor got his feet wet last week. I think or the last few weeks. I think he'll come out and get more carries here. Also use more Moss on third downs. So I think it'll be a really run-heavy team here today. Aluakon had 12 in week 1 versus Indianapolis. So I think he goes over this number. He's had double digits 2 times out of those 3 games that he's went over. So over 9.5 tackles and assists for Aluakon. Trevor Lawrence over 17.5 rushing yards.
Man, I'm just going to get a little degenerate here. Gardner Minshew, 300-plus passing yards, 6-1. I mean, look, 2 quarterbacks have done it against the Jaguars' pass defense this season. Patrick Mahomes, I mean, doesn't need any introduction there, and also Josh Allen. I know those are the 2 of the best quarterbacks, I should say, in the league. But my guy, CJ Stroud, had some success against his team as well. 20 of 30, 280 yards. So, I mean, if you don't want to go that high for Gardner Minshew, 250 plus that, plus 145, 275 plus passing yards is plus 290. No Josh Downs this week for you, Lonte?
Man, I wanted to, but they kind of got his prop juiced a little bit higher.
They caught up.
They kind of caught on. He's he actually number 1 in as far as getting separation. So, man, he's incredible in the slot. Like, if you watched him at North Carolina, you could kind of tell he was a target monster. He was like Cooper Kupp in that system at Mac Brown. Well, not Mac Brown, but in Phil Longo's system. And I think now, man, he's just going to get more attention. I honestly kind of like Pittman to go over his receiving yards, but it kind of got away from me. I think it opened up a little bit, probably about 6 yards under what it is now, simply because of Josh Downs and the underneath stuff. And I think Mo Alley Cox and the tight ends are going to be taking over the intermediate stuff, what Jacksonville wants to take away, and then it'll leave room for Pittman to come in. I think he had a good game in week 1 as well. But yeah, man, I'm going to probably stay away from Josh Downs this week. It just kind of got away from us with the number. They kind of caught up on us.
Yeah, it was hovering at 3.5 for the past several weeks until now. It's at 4.5.
It's juiced too, right? It should be like minus 130, I think, last I seen.
I saw 4.5. I saw 3.5 yesterday, like at minus 166.
Yeah, that's even worse.
Yeah, but now they moved it to 4.5 at plus 130. To your point about Michael Pittman, I want to go back and see what his receiving yards number was. I think I just saw it at 59.5, if I'm not mistaken.
I think it opened like 55, 56.
Yeah, let me see here. 59.5 right now, currently over on DraftKings. The last 3 games he's gone, or sorry, I should say last 4 games against the Jaguars, he's gone over this number: 71, 64, 134 last season. And then, like you mentioned, Lonte, he had a big game in week 1 against the Jacksonville Jaguars, 8 receptions on 11 targets, 97 receiving yards, and 1 touchdown. So maybe go back to Michael Pittman this week. I think there'll be a lot more pass heavy with Gardner Minshew. I know they got Jonathan Taylor back, but I think they're probably trying to ease his way back into after missing the first 4 weeks of the regular season. All right, next game here, Lonte. Let's get over to my Houston Texans. They are hosting the New Orleans Saints. Obviously playing in a dome, no weather impact here. Texans, they did activate Noah Brown, and Tank Dell is going to miss this game. He is dealing with a concussion. He is in concussion protocol. For the Saints side, let's see here. New Orleans Saints. As far as injuries go, nothing really of significance. Lonnie Johnson Jr., cornerback, will remain sidelined in this game. JT Gray, safety, is also out. Landon Young, offensive tackle, is also out. But that is the latest that we know about. And Juwan Johnson, tight end, has been ruled out for this team. as far as the tight end position goes. And for the Texans, like I mentioned, Tank Dell is the significant name there that is going to be missing this game. And then obviously we know about Derek Stingley Jr., who was put on the IR a few weeks ago, hoping that they get him back fairly soon. Robert Woods was also listed questionable for this game with dealing with a ribs injury, but he is expected to play here today against the New Orleans Saints here. Lante, anything that you like in this game?
Yeah, I think you got to look at Nico Collins' receptions and yardage to go over here. With Tank Dell being out, I think, and Robert Woods being banged up, I think he'll be a viable target when a deep threat, because I don't think you can be able to run the ball on this New Orleans front. For that, I like Pierce under 55.5 rushing yards. The Saints have only allowed 2 backs all year to go over this number. Derrick Henry being 1 and Rashad White was the other, and he had 56. So. He's under this number in 3 of his last 5 games. His carries haven't increased. He's at 44 in the last 2 games, but both were against, below average rush defenses. A step up in class here with New Orleans. I don't have the number on it, but New Orleans is on a crazy winning streak on the road, and their games going under. It's just been automatic for 12 or 13 games in a row, if I'm not mistaken. So I think the front of New Orleans will be able to control Houston's offensive line. I know they have some offensive line issues. The Saints are not the team that you want to try to run the ball on. So maybe that coincides with some CJ Stroud overs as well, which is why I like Nico Collins. On the Saints side, I'll probably be playing this every week as well. Over 4.5 receptions from Michael Thomas. He's over in 3 of 5 games. Leads team in receptions, 6+ targets in his last 3 games. So Derek Carr is kind of, he likes to throw it over the middle, short stuff, doesn't like to stretch the field. So I think Michael Thomas over receptions here would be a good look.
8 straight unders on the road
that's crazy.
for the New Orleans Saints.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I think that Dameon Pierce he just doesn't have that explosiveness, right? I think that you take a look at his carries, he's getting the yardage because of the number of rush attempts that he's getting. And I mean, he's only averaging 2.9 yards per carry. That's not going to get it done for the Texans. So yeah, CJ Stroud pass attempts over. I wouldn't be opposed to that. And like you mentioned, Nico Collins also for the Texans. He has just been an absolute monster for this Texans wide receiving group. Last week, didn't have the greatest game, I should say, but I mean, we've seen flashes of what he's been able to do. He had 168 yards against the Pittsburgh Steelers, 146 against the Indianapolis Colts, 80 yards to start the season against the Baltimore Ravens. He already has 467 yards receiving on the year. Kind of puts in that in context here, Lante. His season long was 650.5 by the book. So,
wow.
Yeah, he's slowly creeping up to that season long number. Next game on the board here, Lante, we'll get up to the afternoon slate, 4:05 kickoff between the New England Patriots and the Las Vegas Raiders. I'll start you with the Patriots side. I did see a report that said Mac Jones is going to be on a very short leash. So again, if he gets off to a bad start, we probably maybe need
Bailey Zappi season.
Yeah, Bailey Zappi season, and they also activated, or I should say, not activated, but signed Malik Cunningham off of the practice squad for the Patriots. So I'm trying to find his. Oh, let me get through the injuries first here. Obviously, nothing for weather, because obviously the Raiders play in a dome. But getting to the Patriots side here, let's see. Matthew Judon was put on the IR. Nothing of significance, really. I don't see. And then I know they've been dealing with some secondary injuries. Jonathan Jones has been listed questionable for this game, and obviously Juju Smith-Schuster is also out. For the Raiders, Devontae Adams has been dealing with the shoulder injury, but he is playing, so we're not sure how effective he is going to be. But other than that, it's been a pretty clean injury report for the Raiders. Nate Hobbs, cornerback, ankle has been ruled out. And also Justin Herron is dealing with a concussion. He's been ruled out as well. But everybody else seems to be a go in this game here. Lante, any player props you do like in this game?
Yeah, just one. I like Josh Jacobs over 3.5 receptions. I think you can get that at plus money as well. He's had 5 receptions on 5 targets last week, 8 on 11 targets versus the Chargers. I was about to say the Clippers. 3 on 5 targets versus Pittsburgh. So, I mean, the check down has been there. Adams is a bit banged up. I think New England will obviously some familiarity there with Josh McDaniels and Bill Belichick. So I think this is a good chance for the New England defense to kind of get right here with Garoppolo not being the best, I guess, he really can't pick apart a defense like some of those other quarterbacks that New England's faced. So I like Garoppolo to check it down to Josh Jacobs to get him over this 3.5 reception mark.
Is this finally the week that we see Ramondre Stevenson do something?
I hope so. He's on a lot of my fantasy teams. I took some big shares in him in fantasy.
I know the Raiders are like 4.3 yards per carry, which ranks number 21 in the entire league, and then opponent rushing yards per game. They've been middle of the pack. Actually, no, sorry, they're number 23 at 129.3 yards per game here thus far this season. As soon as I say that, Zay Flowers finds the end zone for my fantasy team. First touchdown score, Zay Flowers there for the Ravens. He gets into the end zone. Yeah, I think that's I was always looking at. I mean, this is a game that I probably want to stay away from. I was looking for the Mac Jones numbers, but the books are smart. They pulled the number off for Mac Jones for this game. So definitely keep an eye out. If your book still has that number up for Mac Jones, I'll possibly take a look at the unders for Mac Jones, because again, like I mentioned, the report did come out that he's going to be on a very short leash for this game. We've seen over the last 2 weeks as well that Bill Belichick has pulled Mac Jones out of the game. So yeah, keep that in mind for sure. Lonte, let's go to the next afternoon game. Arizona Cardinals and the Los Angeles Rams, battle of NFC West teams here. We don't have weather in this game, obviously, playing in a semi-dome, I should say, for this.
I wonder how Kobe feels about semi-domes.
Yeah, man. It's obviously at SoFi Stadium with the Rams and the Chargers there. But anything that you do like as far as player props in this game?
I lean to DeMarcado over 53.5 rushing receiving yards. I just think he'll be more explosive with more time, obviously with Connor out. Arizona has also had, it's just a lean though. I kind of don't know how the game script is going to go for Arizona. If you look at their games though, they've been competitive like early on in games. Like they've been either winning or like, down 3 or something at the first half. And then they kind of maybe get that call from the owner, like, hey, kind of dial it back a little bit. Yeah. But they had issues in the secondary defending number one wide receivers. They were allowed a back-to-back 140-plus yard performances. We saw what Chase did to him last week. So I think it's prime for a Cooper Kupp over game and his receiving yards. If you want to ladder it up to 100-plus, I wouldn't be opposed to that. That's probably going to be the only play that I play. But I do lean to DeMarcado over 53.5 rushing and receiving yards.
Yeah, Arizona allowing 251.4 yards passing through the air. Just taking a look at how quarterbacks have been doing against the Cardinals this season. It hasn't been overly impressive. 202 for the Commanders, but they haven't played also the greatest quarterback schedule, right? Last 2 weeks they did play Brock Purdy, 283 yards, 20 of 21 for Brock Purdy in that game. And we, like you mentioned last week, Joe Burrow, 36-46, 317 yards, 3 touchdowns in that game. So yeah, I like what I've seen from Cooper Kupp. Obviously, coming back in that first game, he just looks like he picked up right where he left off for that team. And I think that this might be a week where Matthew Stafford possibly gets into the range of 275 plus yards, if not 300 passing yards in this game. I'm trying to see what that number is for him on his passing yards here. 276.5. That's the same number he had against the Eagles last week, because I remember I was on the over for Matthew Stafford last week. So yeah, I definitely could see a possibility where he does get over this number of 276.5. Next game on the board here, we'll get to the Detroit Lions. They are also headed down to Florida. They are in Tampa Bay to take on the Buccaneers in this game. Looking at the weather in this game, pretty clean, nothing of significance to worry about. Yeah, it's gonna be 79 degrees, partly cloudy, no rain, and wind is very minimal in this game here as well. Looking at the injuries for this game, I know a lot of the guys were out for the Detroit Lions last week, guys like Amon-Ra St. Brown, but he is expected to play here, dealing with the ribs injury. Sam Laporta was also listed questionable for Sunday's game, but he appears to be trending in the right direction as kickoff approaches in the afternoon slate. So expect him to play here tonight. Not sure how effective he is going to be. So that might open up opportunities for other guys. Emmanuel Mosley, unfortunately, suffered the knee injury. He was put on the IR. And Jahmyr Gibbs has been ruled out for this game here as well. He's dealing with a hamstring injury. So it looks like it's going to be David Montgomery being the featured back for the Detroit Lions in this game. On the Tampa side, looks like Mike Evans is going to be out for this game.
Ooh, I didn't see that.
Nothing official yet, but it seems like he might be trending towards being out. But again, don't quote me on it. Nothing official yet. Also, Anthony Nelson, linebacker, has been downgraded to doubtful for this game with a concussion against the Lions. And then Shaquille Barrett, linebacker, officially listed as questionable. He is dealing with an illness. But other than that, pretty clean injury report for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers here. Lante, any player props you like in this game?
Yeah, man, I was going to go Mike Evans receptions and yards, but I'll pivot if he's going to be out. I'll pivot right to Chris Godwin. They've had troubles like the Detroit defense had troubles with receivers. Thielen had 11 for 107. Dobbs had 9 for 95. DK had 6 for 78. So I think if Mike Evans is out, that Chris Godwin will be a beneficiary over the middle, and then he's really good with yards after the catch. Detroit defensively, secondary is kind of the weakness up front. They're pretty good, but I think the secondary can be had. So give me Chris Godwin over receptions and yards. Put that in a little parlay. Probably can get some plus money on it.
Yeah, I like it. I'm looking for rush attempts for Baker Mayfield because he's not afraid to
That's a good
run
point.
with the ball. And I mean, if you take a look over the past couple of weeks, I know they had a bye week last week, but if you kind of go back and look at his game log as far as his rush attempts, it's the yardage isn't really there, but he's not afraid to take off with it. So in the first 4 weeks of the regular season, he had 3 out of the 4 games. He had attempts of at least a minimum of 6. Against the Saints, he had 8. Against the Bears, he had 6. And then against the Minnesota Vikings, he had 8. But it really didn't translate to a lot of yards, 11, 17, and 31. So if you're able to find a Baker Mayfield rush attempts, I'm not opposed to that. I think we need to identify a receiver that's going to have a game here for the Detroit Lions because we know this Tampa Bay Buccaneers rush defense is one of the best in the league.
Yep. Is Jameson Williams in today?
Yeah, he is in. Yeah. I know last week he was going to be on a limited snap count.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But I think he should be a full go as far as snaps and things like that for this week. And I'm trying to see if I can find a number for Jameson Williamson. Let me see if I can find one here.
Yeah, I might look at his longest reception also. He's a deep threat.
Yeah,
stretch the field.
Let's see here. Jameson. No, I don't see him listed. I pivoted to Josh Reynolds last week. I picked him up on my fantasy team last week. I think he did score a touchdown last week for the Detroit Lions. So maybe look at him, 32.5 receiving yards I see for him. But other than that, I really didn't have anything for this game here, Lante. Anything else you like for this game?
Nah, that's it. I just pivoted from Mike Evans to Chris Godwin. I really like Mike Evans in the spot, but if he's not going to go, definitely like Chris Godwin.
I do see a 62.5 listed for Mike Evans.
Yeah, I'll go over that number and over his receptions. I mean, he's been getting targeted like crazy in the past few games. Let me see if I can pull that up. He has, he's over that 4.5 receptions in 3 of the last 4 back-to-back double-digit target games. And like I said, Detroit defensively on the back end is probably their weakness. So he should be able to take advantage of that.
Yeah, love it. All right, that is the last afternoon. I'm sorry, there's still one more game. The Eagles and the Jets. A lot of injury news in this game. So let me start with the weather here. In New York, 57 degrees, partly cloudy, no rain. We're looking at about 12 miles per hour winds, northwest direction. Looking at the injury report, let's start here with the New York Jets because they are going to be without their top 2 starting cornerbacks in this game. Sauce Gardner has been ruled out. He's dealing with a concussion. And then also Justin Hardy has been placed on the injured reserve. He is going to be out with this game with a hamstring injury. And also DJ Reed, other cornerback, that is their top, their second cornerback, I should say. He's also dealing with a concussion. He's going to be out in this game. So The wide receivers and the passing game here of the Eagles may be licking their chops a little bit because the two cornerbacks that are going to be playing in this game are guys off of the practice squad for the New York Jets. But other than that, those are the significant injury news for the New York Jets. Looking at the Philadelphia Eagles side, they are also going to be without some guys here. Quez Watkins was placed on the injured reserve. He's dealing with a hamstring issue. Darius Slay is going to be out. So top cornerbacks for each team are out for this game. He's dealing with a knee injury is Darius Slay. Also, Jalen Carter here, Lonte, he's going to be out this game as well. He's dealing with an ankle injury. So, top defensive guys for both sides being out in this game between the Eagles and the Jets. Let's get over to some player props in this game. What do you like?
Yeah, I know AJ Brown's been the hot commodity here for the past few weeks. He's been killing it. I'm gonna go to Devontae Smith over 4.5 receptions. Only had 1 reception for 6 yards last game. I think he comes out and they make it an effort to get him the ball early and often. He's had 4+ receptions in 4 of the other 5 games that he's played. So he usually sees a lot of targets. I'm not sure what's going on with his target share, but I think they'll be looking to him early and often, especially with the cornerback issues that the Jets have. So I'm looking forward to Devontae Smith over 4.5 receptions. I wouldn't hate his yardage as well, but I really think that he gets 5+ receptions here in this game.
I think I just have to pivot to Jalen Hurt, or either I think the smarter play might be just take a look at the longest reception for both AJ Brown and Devontae Smith. Because like we mentioned that the top 2 cornerbacks are out here for the Jets. So AJ Brown's longest reception for tonight is 25.5, and then for Devontae Smith, 22.5. I think I really like that 22.5 for Devontae Smith for this game. The longest completion for what was I going to mention for Jalen Hurts at 37.5, but I think that, like you mentioned, like it's AJ Brown, it's Dallas Goedert.
Yeah.
It's AJ Brown and Devontae Smith that are getting those receptions for at least for the passing game. I know Dallas Goedert had a really good week last week for the Eagles passing game, but I think I'm going to be on both of those guys. I won't be surprised if both these guys have 75 plus receiving yards in this game, just because the injuries that the Jets secondary is dealing with. So I'll look at those two guys. As far as the Jets side, I didn't really like much here. Maybe if we look at Zach Wilson pass attempts, because I think if we're looking at a scenario where they are going to be trailing by multiple possessions in this game, that he's going to have to throw the football. Taking over the last 3 weeks here, he's thrown for 26 attempts, 39 attempts, 39, 36, and 26 over the last 3 weeks for Zach Wilson. So maybe look at that. Looking for his exact pass attempts in this game here. Let's see. Pass attempts for Zach Wilson. 30.5. So I think that he definitely gets over this number in this game here for the Eagles and the Jets. Anything else for this game here, Lonte?
No, that's it.
All right, let's get over to the Sunday Night Football game. We got your Giants and the Bills. A lot of injury news in this game, and I'll start with the New York Giants side here because it's always a circus going through their injury report every single week. So Saquon Barkley looks like he's optimistic and hopeful to be playing here tonight against the Buffalo Bills. Darren Waller, who is listed questionable for this game, is expected to play. So you're getting some offensive reinforcements there. Azeez Ojulari, he is going to be put on the IR as of October 14th. Evan Neal listed as questionable as well. Andrew Thomas has been ruled out for this game. He's dealing with a hamstring injury. So, and also the big news, obviously, the quarterback position, Daniel Jones out for this game with a neck injury. It will be the Tyrod Taylor, if I could talk this morning, show for the New York Giants. Hey, he's going up against his former team, the Buffalo Bills here, so maybe a little revenge on his mind here. For the Buffalo Bills side, Dawson Knox is dealing with a wrist injury. He's listed a questionable, but he is expected to play. I know they're missing a lot of guys on the defensive side. Matt Milano, who suffered the leg injury, he was placed on IR. Daquan Jones, defensive tackle, also placed on IR as of Wednesday. Tre'Davious White was also placed on the IR last week. So they're going to be shorthanded, especially on that defensive side here for the Buffalo Bills. Anything you like as far as player props in this game, and then I'll pull up the weather if there isn't going to be in this game.
Man, I don't like anything in this game. I'm just happy that they're playing this at the late game, so I don't even have to watch it. I can probably maybe
Hey,
get
you're
some
going to be
extra.
on national TV, Lante. Come on.
Yeah, man, I'll probably get some extra sleep tonight, man. I got nothing. I got nothing in this game. Probably look for Stephon Diggs to go ape shit tonight because I mean the Giants secondary is just so bad. I do think Tyrod can maybe like use his legs a little bit more.
That's exactly
I
what I
think
was
that
looking at.
yeah, I think that'll be kind of in the game plan by Dayball. If you look at him in the preseason, Taylor performed okay in the preseason. But again, that was against other teams 2s and 3s and not the 1s. But all the Buffalo's still banged up along that defense. I still think they have superior talent, obviously, than the Giants on the offensive side. So yeah, I probably would lean to Tyrod over his rushing yards and Stephon Diggs to have a big game as well.
Yeah, Tyrod Taylor's rushing yards tonight are at 23.5.
Oh yeah,
He did come in last week against the Dolphins, had 3 attempts for 14 yards. So definitely a quarterback that is not afraid to use his legs. I'm trying to see how the rush defense is for the Buffalo Bills. So they're allowing 134 yards on the ground here. That is about 8th worst in the entire league. And then also looking at how many yards per rush attempt they give up. Buffalo dead last 5.8 here, Lante.
Yeah, is Saquon going to be on a snap count? I didn't read anything about that. I don't know if you've seen it.
I only thing I saw is that they're optimistic and hopeful that he's trending in the right direction of play here tonight, but I haven't seen anything as far as limitations for him. Let me see if I can say it's just as optimistic to play.
Yeah,
but
I didn't see anything that was saying that he was going to be actually 100% playing, or if he is playing, that he's going to be limited in any aspect.
Yeah, so I really do like the Tyrod Taylor here tonight at 23.5. Didn't really like much anything for the Bills side. I mean, like you mentioned, if it is going to be a player that does go off, you're probably looking at Stephon Diggs. His receiving yards are, let's see here. Stephon Diggs is 84.5.
Oh, wait. I was about to say 75.5. But I get it, though. I get it.
Yeah. All right. As far as weather in this game, there is a chance of rain, right around 69%. It says definite rain showers, so keep that in mind. Maybe you'll see Tyrod Taylor and maybe even Josh Allen utilize his legs in this game. All right, that pretty much wraps it up for the Sunday's games here, Lante. 2 orders of business left for us here. We'll put together a underdog fantasy entry, and then we'll also put together our touchdown parlay for this week as well. We've been hitting like 2 out of 4.
Yeah,
2 out of 4 the past couple of weeks, but I think we're getting it closer and closer to hitting one for one of these weeks. Hopefully, it is this Sunday here. So why don't we kick it off here with our touchdown props here, Lante? You want to lead us off, guys, that you think will find the end zone?
Yeah, touchdown props. Let's go with. Let me see. Who can we go with here? Let's go with Kenneth Walker. I know that's short, but I think you'll get in the end zone. We went over the defensive struggle, the rush defensive struggles that Cincinnati had. I think he's right around even money to find the end zone.
Let me see if I can get it here.
Yeah, I'll go with him to find the end zone.
Minus 105. Yeah.
Well, that's fine. I think you'll get in. Also, let's go with. Who else can we go with? Can we go with a quarterback? Let's go with Trevor Lawrence to find the end zone with his legs. Okay. Yeah, let's go with Trevor Lawrence anytime touchdown score.
Trevor Lawrence anytime touchdown score plus 330. I like that. All right, for me, I like Drake London.
Yep.
To find the end zone here plus 170. I think at least one of these. Oh boy, Titans just muffed a punt with about 1 second left in the half. All right, so Drake London plus 170. I like that, and then let's go over to that Minnesota Vikings and the Bears game. Let's go with another quarterback. Let's go with Justin Fields, man.
Yeah,
Justin Fields or DJ Moore. What do you think?
I was looking at Justin Fields. I'm not gonna lie. When I was looking at quarterbacks, I was looking at him, or Trevor Lawrence.
All right, so
but I think Trevor Lawrence has a better number.
Yeah, he's at plus 330. Justin Fields plus 135. All right, so our touchdown parlay for this week: Trevor Lawrence plus 330, Drake London plus 170, Justin Fields plus 135, and then Kenneth Walker minus 105. That comes out to around a hair above 52 to 1.
I like it.
All right. And then let's put together our underdog entry for this week. We'll go with about another 4 guys here. Give me your top player prop that you like for this week here, Lante.
Kirk Cousins over whatever it is, 257.5. Is it 250? If it's anything under 260, I think it's fine.
257.5.
Yeah, I like that over.
All right. I do like the Bryce Young prop this week, but I don't see where's Bryce Young. All right, here we go. Bryce Young, let's go over the 22 or higher, 22.5 completions.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. What else do you like?
I'm going to go with, what else do we have here? Is Mike Evans listed?
Let me see here. Evans. Yeah, he is.
Yeah, give me his over on his receiving yards.
62.5.
Yeah, give me over that.
I will go higher on that for Mike Evans, and then I really like the Tyrod Taylor that we mentioned.
Oh yeah.
23.5 rushing yards.
Yep, like that.
We'll go higher on that.
Yep.
All right, so our 4 entry for this week: Kirk Cousins higher 257.5 passing yards, Bryce Young higher 22.5 completions, and Mike Evans higher 62.5 receiving yards, and Tyrod Taylor higher 23.5 rushing yards. That $100 entry will get you a nice $1,000 at the end of the night. So I think hopefully at that point, when we get to Sunday Night Football, Lante, hopefully we'll be sweating out Tyrod Taylor, 23.5 rushing yards. We need him to get higher on that for us to get into the money.
Yeah, you text me and let me know how that goes. I'll be in bed. I'll be in bed by then, man. Or baseball. No, I'll be watching baseball. Baseball's on, so I'll be watching.
Oh yeah. I'll be watching
your Astros. Yeah, I'll be watching Astros.
There we go.
Yeah, I won't be in bed.
All right, that's gonna do it for this. Nick asking here for. Sorry, I just saw the comments on Hurts over passing yards. Yeah, I don't hate it. I just think that they're gonna be airing out the football, especially with those top 2 cornerbacks out. I really do like the over for Hurts, and that's correlated with AJ Brown and Devontae Smith that we like for especially Devontae Smith to get over his rushing yards as well. All right, that's gonna do it for the week 6 pregame show. Lante, anything else you want to mention before we get out of here?
That's it, man. Best of luck to everybody. Hopefully we can, continue the streak. I think we're doing pretty well here. So I'm gonna try to start charting the stuff that we like and just like tweeting it out so we can see the results instead of having to go back and people to go back and like wonder how we do. I'll probably try to recap it at the top of the show. So I'll start on that this week. I'll get you to just send me what your favorite or your top ones, and then we'll put it in a spreadsheet.
Yep, sounds good to me. We have the fantasy guys that are going to be going live here in a couple minutes. So if you're done watching with us, make sure you guys head over to the SGPN Fantasy Football guys, the Fantasy Lounge. Got you guys covered for all the last minute fantasy advice, start, sit guys. They answer a lot of questions there. So make sure you get over there. They're going to live in about 2 minutes here for the Fantasy Lounge. All right, we'll be back next week as usual for the pregame show. We'll go through our props, injury news, and of course weather as usual for the NFL Week 7. So again, we'll be live at 10 a.m. Eastern every single Sunday doing the pregame show here. Props, and injury news for you guys as well. Good luck with your bets this NFL Week 6. Till then, let's break these books off and let it ride.